2, 3, 4.
Rev up your engine!
The new Chevy Corvette, the mid-engine one, has an embarrassing quality issue. They didn't get the stitching right on them. Now, the right stitching on the center console that stands out, it doesn't run smooth. It's kind of wavy, showing, guess what? Poor quality control. What a surprise, GM with poor quality control. I've been warning people about this stuff for decades. Well, this is their little flagship car, and this is this fancy one, the 3LT trim, and they start at $72,000. They can't even get the stitching right. It's wavy. It was poorly done. When he went higher up on the dashboard, he showed that the trim strip that follows into the door, that doesn't match up either. I mean, just poor quality control. I'll never forget years ago, another GM project, Saturn. I had a customer who, strangely enough, her last name was Toyota. And she always owned Toyotas. But she decided to buy American and buy a Saturn when they came out. So she comes over in the Saturn, I look at it, and I said, what do you think of the Saturn? She says, it's new, but I'd say so far, I'd say it's about 70% of my last Toyota, because she said, look at the dash, and you could see the dash was glued kind of sideways. It wasn't in perfectly straight. And that was another GM product. I mean, they decided, let's create the name Saturn, and GM ended up pulling the plug on that, too. They don't make those anymore. It just shows the lack of quality that the company has, basically. If they got these flagship cars coming out like that, and they're coming off the manufacturer floor, and the guys don't look at it and see, geez, that's kind of wavy. That doesn't match up there. The lack of quality and the lack of checking things too. I mean, you're not going to see this in, say, as much as I knock Mercedes, they look good. You get in one, everything matches up. The leather's fine. With letting crap slide through the way it looks, it may break down as it ages and be really complex, but they look really good. Sell these things, you know, $72,000 up, and the stitching doesn't even match. That just shows the underlying lack of quality that General Motors has, or doesn't have. Now, here we go with some of the biggest nonsense that I've read in years. People are now reporting that the virus lockdown is convincing consumers that electric vehicles are the future. Saying that, well, now that people are stuck at home, they're reconsidering the world's being polluted and we're going to buy electric vehicles. Hey, come on, people, let's get real. It's kind of like one of those nor'easters. They got weather coming from both fronts. They got a pandemic on one side, and they got a gigantic economic recession that's going to be worldwide coming on the other side. The last thing people are going to be doing in the near future is spending a whole bunch of money on unproven electrical cars. People are going to have tight money supplies. They're not going to go out and spend a bunch of money that they don't have. A lot of people have been laid off, are getting jobs that pay less. Hey, maybe now they're working in a warehouse, setting up deliveries of stuff. They're not going to have 40, 50 to buy an electric car. If you look at the other aspects of the recession, the price of oil is down. What is the incentive for people to get an electric car when gasoline is going to be cheap? There are millions and millions and millions of cars everywhere. They have internal combustion engines. These things are not going to just disappear and everybody decide, vision that I'm going to drive an electric car now. Yeah, well, they got to be paid for. Let's live in the real world, people. Let's not live in this fantasy that you think people just sitting around and thinking, oh, I'm going to buy an electric car now. That made me change my whole philosophy of life. That is not going to happen. Let's get real. I live in a real world. I see what happens in the real world. I don't live in some fantasy world that people are all going to sit, well, I thought about it, and now I'm going to. Just like, if you remember what happened during the 9/11 the last time, people said, oh, people are thinking about their lives differently now that they saw a tragedy, and everyone's going to quit the advertising company selling things to people. Ha! After it went over, the advertising companies made even more money. So, hey, let's live in the real world, people, not in some fantasy world. Nick 20S says, Scotty, I called AutoZone for a fuel filter for my 2012 Camry. They say it's not serviceable as it's part of the fuel pump assembly inside the gas tank. Is it a lifetime BS that I can't change it then? They did put all the fuel filters to almost every car inside the gas tank. Kind of a stupid idea, but that's engineers for you. Let's put it someplace it's hard to get to. All filters eventually clog up from age, from wear and tear. You get a little crud in the gas tank, it's going to go in. They do have to be changed at some point in time. Getting into the Camry isn't that hard. You take the back seat out, there's a little access panel, you can get the pump assembly up. There are aftermarket places you can buy just the filter, take it apart, replace the filter, and put it on. It's a pain. You still got to take the back seat and everything out. But I still advise you should do it every 60,000 miles or so, because you don't want to get clogged up, build up pressure, because then the pump will burn out. Now, if you like gambling, don't change it. Then one day, when the pump goes out, you're going to replace the whole thing. But if you don't change that filter, odds are the pump is going to have a shorter lifespan. And some of those pumps cost $500-600. As the filter clogs up, it creates extra back pressure, and the pump has to work harder. So it will burn out faster. Me, I still tell people, take them out, change them. Because ultimately, of course, it is BS. Everything wears out eventually. And if something has a filter in it, why is the filter there? They say you never need to change it. You never would need a filter, because that means there's nothing clogging it up. But there is stuff, and eventually the filtration material just wears out too, like anything else. Nothing lasts forever. Charles says, Scotty, I got a 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee V8 all-time four-wheel drive. It has a front-end grinding noise when I go 25 miles up, and I let it cruise, the noise goes away. But when I accelerate, it makes noise. I bought new hub wheel bearings and brakes, but the noise is there. What could cause it, and how can I fix it? Odds are it has to do with your CV joints there. That's the most common thing. They wear when you accelerate, you're straining them. Then they make the noise, you just cruise, you're not straining them, the noise goes away. I would have told you don't waste your time with the wheel bearings, because wheel bearings, the faster you go, the louder the noise. So it wouldn't matter if you're accelerating or not. If you're going 30, they'd go roar, and if you're going 60, they'd go roar, louder. They get louder the faster you go. I would have told you that wasn't the case. You can get those joints replaced at a decent price. Go right ahead, because some of those assemblies, you got to replace the whole assembly. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars. And I don't know if you want to spend that money on something that's that old. It's 22 years old, right? Do you really want to spend that kind of money? And the other thing is, it could be the front differential itself going out that can make a noise, and that would be a very expensive repair too. Generally, it's the CV joints that are going bad on those things. They'll start making a grinding noise only when you accelerate. I see that all the time. Marino95 says, I performed a throttle body maintenance on my 2013 Toyota Tundra. Now I have a check engine light and a track control light is on. Any help on how to clear these? Sometimes when you clean the throttle, that's going to affect the readings. Say there was carbon in it. Well, now there's no carbon. It sits different, and it might turn the check engine light. If you got a scan tool, just plug a scan tool in and say, reset codes, yes, it'll reset them, it'll be gone. If you didn't do any kind of damage and you just cleaned the dirt off, and remember to unplug the sensors before you put the spray in, you can just drive it and it should just reset itself by itself. Now, the reason that the check engine light and traction control lights are on is because that's a software thing with all the Toyotas. Once the check engine light comes on, it'll also trip the track control, because if the computer sees there's a problem in the car, it automatically turns the traction control system off, and then that light comes on. So there's nothing wrong with your traction control thing. If it came on right after you cleaned it and the check engine light came on, it was the check engine light just tripping that. There's nothing wrong with that system. You just need to reset it, hope that you didn't do any damage to the electronics. Anytime you do cleaning on electronics and stuff like that, always unplug them or take a battery terminal off first. Honda Hayes says, Scotty, I'm going on a long trip for 3 months, September to December. Should I change my engine oil before or after the trip? Frequent should I change it if I'm using full synthetic oil? To begin with, it's always a good idea to change the oil before you go on a trip if the oil's dirty, you know. Now, I mean, if you've already changed it, don't worry about it. But if you're nearing it's time to change it anyways, change it before the trip. Now, as for how frequently you should change the oil, you didn't say what kind of car you had. That depends on a lot of things. I don't go by a lot of the manufacturer's suggestions because they don't give a crap if your engine wears out too early. They want to sell you another car anyway. If I had something like a Toyota or a Honda, I'd change the engine oil generally every 7,000 miles with full synthetic oil. If you use normal oil, you could change it every 4,000 or 5,000 miles. But there are some engines out there that I wouldn't go that far. I would change it even with full synthetic synthetic oil every 5,000 miles because they're notorious for having wear inside. That Honda Earth Dreams engine that has oil dilution problems, I definitely change that at least every 5,000 miles, even with full synthetic oil. So you got to realize what vehicle you have, what engine you have, then ask a guy like me what he suggests you to do, because it's different for different engines. A lot of these guys jump on the bandwagon. The manufacturer says, oh, you only have to change your oil every 10,000 miles. Yeah, then go to them when you got 80,000 miles and your car's burning oil, and they'll say, oh, that's normal that they burn oil at that mileage. Yeah, it's not if you change the oil all the time. You shouldn't burn any oil.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.